This open meeting of the Historic Structures Advisory Board is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of COVID-19 virus. In order to mitigate the transmission of the virus, we have been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings, and as such, the governor's order suspends the requirement of open meeting bylaw to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of public bodies are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. This order, which you can find posted with agenda materials for this meeting, allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely as long as reasonable public access is afforded so the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless the participation is required by law. This meeting will not feature public comment. For this meeting of the HSAB is convening by video conference via Zoom app and is posted on the town's website, identifying how the public may join. Note that this meeting is being recorded and that all attendees are participating in a video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that your other folks may be able to see you, to take care not to share your screen. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recordings. All supporting materials that have been provided members of this body are available on the town's website unless otherwise noted. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless I note otherwise. We're now turning to the first item on the agenda. Before we do so, let's cover some ground rules. The business to ensure accurate meeting minutes. I'll introduce each speaker on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, the chair will go down the line of members, inviting each by name to provide any comment, questions, or motions. Please hold your name until call. Also remember to mute your phone or computer when you are not speaking, and remember to speak clearly. For any response, wait till the chair yields the floor to you and state your name before speaking. If members wish to engage in conversation with other members, please do so through the chair. And finally, each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by roll call vote. So, Brooke, you're there, right?
Yes.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Lucy?
Aye. Aye.
Brooke?
Aye.
Oh, Jason?
Yes, I know. 2 weeks in a
And I'm an I too. Okay, so the first agenda item is what?
For India.
Yeah.
Hey guys, good morning, good afternoon.
Victoria?
With a Christmas tree and a waving 9-year-old.
So it looks like you're on this application, Tori, that you're fine with doing 2 doors that are identical, 6 light
Yes,
doors?
so we're gonna do 2 identical, and when we were at the meeting and talking about painting versus, we would prefer natural, but HDC and you both wanted it painted, we're happy to do that. But we hadn't really discussed the paint color, and we just kind of decided on Essex green. So they would prefer to do white to match the window. So we're hoping to do white, and that's what this application is for.
Okay. Anybody care what color this is?
No.
I prefer the green, but if they want to do the white, I can go along with that. I do have a question. Are they going to change that lighting on the outside of the building?
The ones on the signs,
Yeah.
I can ask,
Okay. All right.
no problem.
Not part of the application, though.
I know.
I'll look into that for you though, no problem.
Yeah,
Um,
everyone, I prefer the Essex green if that were on the table.
Yeah,
do I.
I would agree. I would prefer Essex green, but white is generally provable, but I think we're all looking to see if you'd change it to green, so.
Yeah, they're not fond of the green. If we could do the white, that's what they would prefer.
Well, you've got our thoughts. That's
Okay.
we'll leave it.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Tori.
You got it.
Next, we have 8R Back Street.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is Tim Carruthers from Axmart.
Hi, Tim. How are you?
Pretty good. How about you guys?
Doing well.
Okay. So we have here 8R. I believe the property was built in the early 90s. So I suspect it was perhaps part of maybe a subdivision, not a subdivision, but a reparceling. So it sits at the back of 8. We're proposing to put a 20-panel roof array on the southeast roof. We're going to completely fill the roof, with the exception, of course, where the widow's walk sits on the top. There's no visibility whatsoever of that elevation from Back Street. However, if you go around the block to Arkansas Ave, and you walk down Arkansas Ave, for the most part, you cannot see it with the exception of a very slim sliver if you stop dead in your tracks right opposite the property that sits behind, that's on Arkansas, that sits behind 8R. And we've highlighted that. So we show some pictures there. You can see the view slightly to the south and from the north on Arkansas. And then if you sort of stop, let's say dead east of it, you can see, and this is winter, you can see where we've highlighted in red, that is actually the roof, the elevation of the roof behind that property that's sitting on Arkansas.
I looked for this on Street View, and I only have what you're showing here, which does show it's sort of visible, but kind of obscurely.
Yeah, I think in the summer for sure, when that tree there that's sort of overhanging the property on Arkansas, when that comes in and the branches are kind of way down a little with the leaves and so forth, I think even then, even that visibility will be, blocked as well.
The
Mr.
question is,
Chair, through you, I just want some clarification from Tim. Are you meaning Williams Street, not Arkansas? Because that's Mattocket.
Gosh, did I?
Yeah, it's Williams right here.
yeah,
Is it?
So
Yes.
What is it? Then I do mean, I see there's a label there, Arkansas, but I don't know where that came from.
yeah, this is Williams here.
Okay,
You're
So that-
looking, this one, you're looking down this way. Got it.
yeah, I do mean that street there. So I don't know why it says,
It's Google.
Yeah.
okay.
Mr. Chair, I just wanted to
Yeah.
just emphasize to the board that 8 Back Street is actually this property where 8R is back here. Looking at the NHL data, this dwelling here was built in 1840, whereas this one here is listed as 1975.
Mhm.
At one point, this was all one property. So just want
Thank
to
you.
give you some information on that. Yep.
Great. So the question is whether or not we care if that little sliver is visible as solar panels. It looks like the roof is kind of a light gray, so it's not really hiding on black roof shingles. What does anybody on the board think about this one?
I'm in agreement with you, Mr. Rowland,
What did I say?
that you didn't think it was very visible.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
When is this, when is the current house, sorry, due for a new roof? Meaning, when it goes to a new roof, it becomes a black roof.
Yeah, I guess so. Tim, the question is, are they willing to reshingle the roof at the same time?
So that's a good question. And I don't have the answer in terms of how old the roof is. My understanding is the property was built in 92. So it's kind of at the end of, if that were the case, the roof would be at the end of its lifespan.
Mhm.
And we can certainly check with the owner in terms of what the age of the roof is. I would note that the design does cover the entire roof area there. other than just what we would require as a minimal setback to the left and the right.
Okay.
So yeah, the roof, I think, was originally black. It's obviously what those shingle roofs gray over time, which is why it's looking more gray now. So if the owner did choose to put a black roof on it, that would be great. But I don't think it will change materially the visibility in this instance because we are covering the roof.
So is it sort of a matter of policy and process? If somebody's roof were questionable as you're about to put a whole new solar array up there, would you recommend that they replace their roof at that time?
Absolutely. Our working guideline / policy is if the roof is older than 10 years, then we recommend to the owner that they put a new roof on at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
The panels and the whole install is warranted for 25 years. It's a 25-year product life cycle. So we don't really want to have to take the system off in 10, 12 years because the roof is weathered and aged.
Okay, well, I think, anybody else want to comment? Lucy, did you have your hand up?
Yes, I would prefer to see the left-hand units not be there, so there's no visibility on the street. And is there any way that the equivalent could be on the right-hand side roof, that small roof? I'm very much against people relying on leafing out of trees and hedges to cover stuff. I think that I don't like that. And so that's why I was wondering if that one section that would be visible from Williams could be relocated to the other small roof.
Right. This is the old historic district, and I'm sort of on the fence as to whether I care if I see these panels, but I think elsewhere on the island, I'd probably not care with this kind of visibility, but we are in the old historic district, so I think we need to look at this a little bit more strictly. So I guess Lucy's suggesting that maybe, Tim, you take those 6 panels on the left side and shift them down to a lower roof. I know that's not ideal for a couple of reasons, I'm sure, but that's becoming a recommendation from a board member. Anybody else want to comment on this?
I agree about shifting them down. This is Jason.
Okay, Angus, you there?
He has a good point about vegetation and screening. But to add to that, I've seen in the core in Sconset, historic buildings either moved or demolished. So like imagine the house at the end of this driveway going away. Do you know what I mean? So I think we need to be careful, especially in the core districts. As much as I'm a fan of solar and renewables, I think we pretty much have to be prepared for anything.
Okay.
Very good point, Angus.
All right, so it's not sure we're giving a real clear message on this one. Are we kind of saying we don't really like them here? Or maybe at least the left-hand side ones?
I think it's a perfect opportunity for good southern exposure on a large roof. If there could just be some note about screening in perpetuity, that if the house went away or the tree went away, that that whatever was visible would go away.
Well, the tree's not on their property, so that's a problem.
Right.
Well, all these things I'm talking about are possibly beyond their control. I'm just saying that if the visibility, if it does become visible, then it needs to be removed. Otherwise, put it all on.
Well, it's a little visible now, and Lucy is suggesting that the 6 panels be relocated. And I'm not sure if the photographer were to take a couple steps to the left when he took that picture, we'd see, a couple more panels, or will the tree block it at that point?
So I was the photographer, I can comment on that. If you were to take 3 or 4 steps to the south, you would be completely blocked. And likewise, if you took 3 steps to the north, it would be blocked by the house. So, from a solar design perspective, I think that it adds cost to the client to have to move the 3 or 6 panels to a lower elevation. It certainly brings in additional shade. So so there's a runtime cost associated with it. And I know the HDC's position over the course of the last few years has to ask us to cover the elevation and not to leave these strips. They much prefer a complete blanketed elevation so that it just looks from a distance like it's a black roof. And so that's how we've been moving forward. I do think in this case here, you really have to go way out of your way to actually see this. I mean, you have to stop dead in your tracks. If any cars going by taking that one-way street are not going to see it. You just, you just can't see it. You would have to stop dead in your tracks right at this spot here. So that's why we showed it in the spirit of full disclosure. Right. But you really do have to stop right there to see it.
Well, I think I'm just going to have to write down a couple different comments that we've had. The HDC, they're going to make their decision. And our recommendation will be to try to reduce the visibility as much as possible, even more so than you're implying, I guess. So I think I'd like the notion of completely covering the roof plane so there isn't a gray strip on the edge, but that'll be up to them, I guess. Anybody else want to comment on this?
Mr. Chair, I just wanted to notate that their policy also is on a secondary mast. This is on the main mast.
Okay, thanks. All right. Looks like we're good with this one. Thank you, Tim.
Thank you, everyone.
Yep. 7 Green Lane. Who is this? Do we have representation here? Natalie Caver? Doesn't look like it. Anybody want to?
Mickey, sorry,
Yeah.
it's Jason. I can't, this one is immediately behind the MMA's administrative offices, so I'm not going to make comments or take part.
Okay. I think if as a neighbor, you could comment, but maybe not as an HSAB member.
Yeah, I'll keep my mouth closed.
Okay. Anybody else? Lucy, go ahead.
I have no problem with this. I think actually it's a nice application, well submitted. The only question, and I know it's not on there, is but make sure if they have any outdoor lighting that's applied for.
Right.
And another, do they have a use for the old slate or stone?
Right. Anybody else?
No concerns.
No concerns.
This is probably really not visible at all, this backyard patio that's up on the screen now. But the one they're showing to mimic it, it has pretty big mortar joints in it. A different photograph somewhere else in the file. So I was just going to suggest there's a different picture somewhere than that one.
Yeah, you're right. I see that.
There it is. Yeah, I was just gonna suggest, if they have to do it, set it in concrete, just do it without mortar joints or dry lay it so there aren't any. But I'm not sure you'll see it anyway, but just in case. That's not really what we're looking for, probably.
Doing mortar.
That's a good point. That looks more like low country brickwork there.
Yeah, I don't even care about the pattern, but it's just the white mortar joints, the light color. So sounds like no concerns, but maybe the mortar joint to disappear. Okay. Next. 50 East Queen Street. The awning. Any thoughts? Lucy?
I think that the style of the awning is not architecturally appropriate to that building. Kevin told me that at one point the Pacific National wanted to do those round type awnings on the front of the building at top of Main Street, which was denied. I think a regular shed style is more appropriate. And I'm not in favor of the two colors. I think that a dark green or a dark blue would be better. Examples of that the things I have in mind are at the old Sweet Inspirations. They have the shed style awnings there in dark green.
Dark green, yep. Anybody else?
I agree.
I agree.
I agree.
Oh,
Thank
another question is that they do have a light fixture above the door. And what's their plan on that?
Okay.
On the existing elevation, you can see that right there.
Oh, yeah, but that'll be inside the awning. Do we really care? Right?
Okay.
Unless they do, well, I don't know. I'll note it.
Thank you.
Yeah, depending on what kind of awning they do.
Right. Okay. Next. 14 Lincoln Ave. Who was this? Is this Marky Town? I don't see Mark here.
You all know which house this is. I know this house.
It's the flat top, right?
Yeah. What's the age?
What I found for 14 Lincoln is 1902.
But this is really the cottage and back, right? Nothing, not the main house.
Correct.
Any thoughts?
So it's just that second floor gable addition.
Yeah, when I look at this, what I see is a dormer with dormers on the sides. It's a gable dormer. It's got two shed dormers on either side, which it doesn't look too bad head on, but I think if you were to go at an angle and see the perspective view of this, I think that would look a little odd to see those shed dormers.
May I see the site plan again, Holly?
I agree with you, Mickey. It's kind of too bad it doesn't really reflect the main house.
Well, okay, so this to me looks like that addition faces that back of the house. And so its visibility will be pretty limited, either from Lincoln or from Capom. I mean, there's a house right in front of it if you're on Lincoln.
Yeah.
and you're not going to see it from Capom because it's on the back. So I have no problem with this.
Yeah, I kind of agree with sort of what Brooke is saying, because you won't be able to stand in the position or see it from the angle that would bother me the most. I think the visibility is sort of limited, but I still don't really like the concept of it, the dormers on the dormer. They don't really need them. They could rearrange their plan to get access into that room. But what does everybody else think?
The west is the visibility of from Capom. Am I correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Lucy, Angus, Jason?
I agree. It's an awkward addition, but as Brooke has pointed out, I'm not sure how visible it will be. And I thought that there was kind of a standard about not running dormers back into, connecting them to the main masses.
There is. It's not always adhered to, but you really shouldn't run a shed into a side roof, shed dormer. But they make plenty of exceptions, and you may not really notice this the intersection point because you can't see it from that angle. So I'm just going to put I make the comments about the dormer and probably should remove the shed dormers, but I'm also going to say the visibility is probably limited. Is that good? Anybody else?
That works.
Okay. Next. 10 Union. This is the fence. You can see. Anybody here to represent this? Look at, to me, this looked like mostly a repair and replace, in like kind replace. Maybe a new section, a small new section, but it's all sort of the same. Does anybody have any concerns with this?
Now, I have no concerns, but I would like to say that I'm glad that they're going to replace it as it exists now. I mean, that style fence, you don't see it much, and it's fun.
Mm-hmm. A little different.
My only comment is on that south border where it's the orange. It looks like it goes from a low fence to, but I'm not able to see what the height dimension is there of it. But is that like, is it just replacing what's existing of sort of a variation in height, or what?
I couldn't really tell. I mean, that's the orange section. There was sort of a key to that.
You go back to the photo, Holly.
It's along the
Top.
It's along the neighbor's property.
Yeah. And if the middle, it says Union Street at right side, obviously that comes up.
I think if it's just replacing like kind, I don't have an issue with it.
I think because, and this would be a like kind based on what I think everybody is seeing, but I think this is the only section here in between that wouldn't be the like kind. Therefore, that's why it's before the commission, I think.
It looks like it might come up right near where the kitchen area is, which I think that's where the kitchen is. And I don't have a problem with that because there's a building right next to it at 14 Union, and you're never going to see it.
Yeah, I'm fine with this one. Anybody have any concerns?
Nope.
No, they've just been cutting trees down there horrendously.
I've
Okay.
noticed.
Okay. All right, moving on. 112 Main. Hi, Ethan.
Good afternoon.
So we're doing the cottage first, one in the back.
Correct. They're both in the back. The cottage is the new construction. Yep, that's right above where the cursor is currently.
Yeah.
Mickey, if I might, I will sit on this as a neighbor because it is directly adjacent to the Mariah Mitchell Association.
Gotcha. Right. Okay. Anybody want to make a comment?
So it says window changes, but I'm looking at a hood over a door.
Mhm.
Are there actually window changes?
No, that must be a miss. I must have mischecked that on the,
Okay.
where did I write that?
I think that's for your second application.
Oh,
for
okay.
Fenestration changes, correct?
Yes.
Right.
I
know-
think the awning enhances it.
I wouldn't mind seeing it a little bit bigger, actually.
And maybe a little bit lower.
Yeah.
That's sort of what I was going along with, is there's a lot, it seems, first of all, personally, I'd rather see that as a shed covering the door rather than a gable. And if it's going to be a gable, I'd really love to see that front facade filled in rather than just being two roof slabs, fill in the pediment. Making
Mhm.
pediment. Do you know what I mean by that?
Right here.
Yeah.
That, to me, that looks sort of foreign to downtown Nantucket. If you're going to put a gable, fill in the front triangle.
So wider, lower, and fill it in.
Yeah, and consider a shed. Anybody else care about shed versus gable?
I like it better, but this is fine.
Lucy?
No,
Good
Okay,
nod to the Greek revival.
okay. We'll go with that. All right, next.
So the shack, there is a survey for this. It's actually the image on the left-hand side. So that one that's on the right-hand side with the barn, the carriage doors, is actually on the adjacent property.
And the date on it, I know it's here somewhere. Do you know it, Ethan?
1915.
1915, thanks, Phil.
Yeah, and just to give a little bit of background, at some point, probably in the last like 15 years, it was kind of cut. It was probably just sitting on dirt, and it was cut off. You know, the sill was cut off, and it was put on a block foundation and kind of reinforced. So it sits on new framing, although the rest of the interior framing exists. And we're actually trying to work with that as much as possible, with the big door that's replacing the big window. At some point, there was the framed opening where that current picture window is basically the size of the door we're proposing.
Was
So it
this
probably was a barn door at some point.
was this something that Twig Perkins, was he the one that worked on this?
I don't know. If he had, it's likely. I mean, he does a lot of projects around here, and this could be something he worked on. There hasn't been a lot of work on this particular shack other than just kind of cutting it, all the rotten part out and putting it on a new foundation and floor.
If I may, as an abutter, I question 15 years. I've worked in the adjacent property for over 30 years, and I do not remember, especially in the last 15 years, a new foundation being put underneath this. It is fully visible from our property. I have concerns about one, how it affects our museum space, but that's probably here nor there. But the other part of it losing that window because I should say the kind of shuttered hatch opening, because I think it harkens back to what it was likely used as, whether it was likely a barn and then later perhaps an early garage. I do have issue with that. And also there has been work being done to this property, and I don't think there were permissions given.
Jason, you're bringing up a point that I kind of agree with too, that this is an old barn and I think it's completely losing its barn-like feel to it. You know, I sort of lament losing that hatch, that upper, you know, turning that into a window and you know, changing a picture window to a huge sliding glass door. You know, I'm not sure about the visibility. I think there's a chance you might glimpse through to the back of this, but I'm not sure. But you know, if I were commenting on something that was more visible, I would at least say that maybe in front of that sliding door, maybe make it a French door, but maybe put a sliding barn door there so that you could cover it and it still has a barn-like feel to it.
We have an option with barn doors covering both French doors, sliding doors, and that little window hatch. The owner wasn't sold on it, so we went with this. But I think with your comments, we certainly could go back to that.
Well, I think that would. I mean, I know it'll be open all the time, and you know, if it's visible, you'll still see the door behind it. But at least it'll have that sort of continue to have a barn-like quality to it. And I would do the same thing on the back facing the Mariah Mitchell, I guess. Maybe you put swinging shutter batten doors on that new French door in the back.
Yep,
right there.
100%.
The part that faces, just the part that faces the MMA is the east side. That side, I have a full view of the backyard from my office window and from parts of the backyard at the Mitchell house.
Okay.
I think keeper style window on that east side is actually a lot older than we realize.
The actually the window that's the oldest in the house is on the north elevation in the upper gable. That is a legit like plank frame sash, you know, held in place with framing window. All the rest of the windows are more contemporary, still true to Vitalite, obviously, but more contemporary windows.
Okay.
Mickey, I like all of your suggestions about retaining the barn aspect of this. Ethan, I have a question for you about that that second story or loft 6-light window. What's behind that plank door now?
It basically there's at some point they put a floor over the collar ties up there. So I don't know what I'd be curious actually what you guys think those types of openings were for. I don't know if it's like access to like kind of a hayloft sort of scenario, but it basically opens to a covered floor on top of the collar ties essentially.
Yeah, my guess would
But I mean,
be.
is there anything besides the door? Is there any? Is it just opening behind it, or has it been like painted closed and it's just part of the wall?
Oh no, it's all open stud on the inside, and they painted it. The former owners, I mean, it's carpeted up there. It's not insulated or anything, but they used it as like the kids' like crash loft for all the kind of kids visiting in the summer. So it's sealed in. Like I don't think they had opened it in years. The hydrangea was growing through it, but it's technically operational.
I like the idea of any sort of fenestration that works in that, whether it's an 8-light or 6-light, whatever keeps vertical panes behind it. But having the board or the idea of the plank doors over any of the fenestration, I think will retain the original intent of the building.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else?
Yeah, I agree with Jason about removing that large window and putting in sliding doors. And I'm all for it, but keeping the hatch.
Okay. You'd
I
rather.
mean, calling this a shack, I mean, it's, you know, I think there's just too much with those two sets of doors. I just think there's too much fenestration.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I'm crazy about the idea of sliding.
It was a utilitarian space. And that hatch, Ethan, could have been used for something. If it was used as a barn, it could have been used as a quote unquote hayloft or also as a storage area.
Yeah.
To easily put stuff above rather than going up through.
Yeah, it didn't seem like it's an access thing. It was probably some sort of utilitarian storage function.
would have been an easy place to just throw hay from the loft out the window into a cart or something. Maybe.
Yeah, I wonder if that pictured window was maybe barn doors at some point.
Based on the framing on the inside, I should have actually just included a photo of it, because the opening, the aperture that's actually framed is significantly larger, as if it was a big barn door at some point.
Yeah,
But I would like to see the hatch over the window remain. You know, something you swing out in the summer and close in the winter, just so that it looks like it does right now.
Yep.
Those side sliders, I feel like the glass lights are they're just too large, and I think they should be more emblematic of what is there. And I definitely like the idea of having some sort of barn door sliding, rolling, whatever it is, covering that thing for the wintertime. I think the south French doors, I don't know that we'll ever see them, but it sure would be nice to just have some wood shutters for that. But yeah, that 6 light window, I think, you know, that's sort of the last holdout. That is what defines this building. So I'd like to see that maintained in as much as possible.
Yep, I agree with all that.
I think if you have the sliding barn doors over the sliders and then the hatch above, it's when all the barn doors are pulled back and clipped or whatever. I mean, that's what I do on my barn. In the summer, it's going to be very busy, especially if the sliders are painted and the hatch is painted.
Yeah, what are the colors?
I mean, usually those things would be natural to weather.
When we had the shutters, we were thinking of doing the shutters that blue to match the current door. I mean, all the trim's white right now. The current, including the current hatch, we thought the going to the blue for essentially the doors would be a nice touch if we were doing the when we had the shutters. But certainly, welcome your opinion.
A big slider shouldn't be blue.
Yeah, I think
The wooden hatches should not be blue.
any of the barn type implements shouldn't be blue. That'll detract from the barn feeling. I keep them natural if you could.
What about the hatch? Would we keep the hatch white to match what's there?
Or gray, maybe.
Natural to weather.
Or
Yeah,
natural.
it should be white. There's a few of these around.
Yeah.
I think it can be white.
I think I'm okay with that. It's already white anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's that little cottage on Union Street that's kind of tucked in the back there right before you get to town that has a similar kind of detail of this. And it's all the trims have got that blue, but it's matching the trim, not a contrasting color.
Okay. I think you got a pretty good indication of where we're going with this. Not real sure what we're saying about the picture window changing to a slider. It's getting kind of mixed. But some people are saying keep it as it is. Some are at least saying change the proportion of the lights so that it's a little bit more in keeping with what's there. What you're proposing with that very large slider with the big panes is probably the opposite of what we want to see. I think we want to see something a little bit more with character, not just something off the shelf.
Especially since that building has not been really overly fiddled with and damaged, and we're losing a lot of those kinds of buildings. We just lost that. The one that was next door at 124 Main Street is now gone. So it lost that.
Yep.
Can I just ask one more question of Ethan as a butter? Who is doing the landscape on this?
I think it's Francisco Merlos Landscaping. To be honest, I know they've been like kind of back there moving shrubs around and stuff, but I don't know what their status is with any sort of hardscaping application or anything like that.
Okay, because they've basically ripped everything up, and I don't think they have had any permission.
I'm meeting with the owner actually this afternoon, so I will certainly bring that to his attention. And even if it's something that we can help him with to kind of get something in, yeah, because certainly, you know, we don't want to, we realize we're right in the back of Mariah Mitchell as well, so.
Yeah, there's piles of brick. I mean, all the shrubs and everything have been ripped out, but now all the brickwork is being ripped up. So
Yeah, I saw a pile of lumber in the driveway.
I don't know what the lumber is for, but I'll look at that too.
It looked like
Okay.
fencing material.
well, to be quite honest with you, there's also been some stuff done in the guest house that I don't think had permission either, based on what
Okay.
they.
Check it out.
Okay, thanks, Ethan.
Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Sure.
Thanks, Ethan.
So 10 Easy Street.
Holly, what's the date on this building?
I have,
50, it says.
what, oh, on NHL data, it said 1940. What does this say? Did this say it on there? I don't
No.
like this form. It's gotta be, this is the Killen Real Estate?
Yep.
I think that's older than 1940s.
It looks like an old building. In fact, it even has kind of a rubble foundation.
Mm.
It may be new, but it really has, and I don't know, you know, Bruce Killen was probably involved in this, so he probably either repaired it or built it as, you know, very historic looking building. So I'm not really clear. Has anybody been inside this building?
Yes. Years ago, I was in the upstairs, but I did look at the NHA website, and it looks like it's been in a couple of postcards dating 1900, 1910.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's more of the age.
I've been in it too, but it's been a while. And to me, I remember it feeling like a pretty old building, not like a new building made to look old. So I'm wondering if it was moved to this location at one point.
I feel like we went through this with the lobster pot building that was completely obliterated, that it was actually older than than what it was documented as being.
Right.
Which was next door.
And then I look in Macaulay's that then and now book, and I think that it was in a photograph there dated 1876.
Wow.
I was going to call Bob Young, but I forgot to.
Well, I think it's an old building, and I really don't think the window proposal works at all. Anybody else want to? I know they're trying to make this more of a commercial look and use, but I still don't think it works. I don't think that's a good enough excuse to change this old building.
No, I agree. It's completely inappropriate. And
Yeah.
it's also, I mean, a very iconic building. And like, as Lucy's just pointed out, postcards and viewscapes and what have you.
Mhm.
Yeah, and let's not forget that the building on the other side of the street that the land bank demoed that was owned by Arno.
Mm-hmm.
Remember that?
Yeah.
Very old building. I mean, I would just hate to see this whole street just be a goners.
I know, I agree.
Yeah, those look like real plank frames to me.
They are.
Yeah, so no.
Yeah, and there's a lovely detail
Iconic
about
Nantucket and a first impression for all the people coming off the boat and walking to Main Street. I think it would be a shame to lose its original character.
Appears to be a very old iconic building with appropriately styled windows. Even if it were acceptable to change these windows, which it is not, the proposed windows are not in the proper direction.
Beautiful.
Okay, anybody else?
Well, they've got a lovely splayed lintels up on the second floor of that building.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, on the front.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Okay, next.
Me,
Yeah.
It's Brooke.
Huh,
Hey,
go
let's do-
easy on me, guys.
Holly,
Brooke
let's
hour.
do the main house first.
Okay. New main house. Oh, it's a little slow.
The floor plan looks really familiar.
Aspirational facade. Nice.
It's better than writing it. This is what it wants to look like. And we're not doing that, the angled pediment, but the door, that's the door surround that we're going for.
Good. So I'll go ahead and just give I just have a couple comments. Looking at that elevation, the east elevation, I would really rather see that corner board run all the way down through, which would push back that wall to the right-hand side a little bit.
You mean on the west elevation?
No, oh, is that west? Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, west.
So
Yep.
run the corner board down?
Yeah, just run that whole block down and push that section of the kitchen in a little further. And the windows, the windows don't align as well as they really should. And also looking at that same elevation, the dormers, I'd like to see the sides of the dormers pulled in tighter to the windows. There's, to me, too much shingle on either side. This dormer and the one on the other side.
The east side isn't really visible, actually, from anywhere.
Yeah, that's interesting. This probably is, but the west.
Yeah, the west might be visible. The south is sort of nominally, it's debatable, especially after the new house goes in. And then if you factor in Fraker's house.
Right. Lucy or Angus or Jason?
The gable window in the attic, I don't know what elevation that was.
That was the east, not visible.
I'd rather, because I'd rather see it not be that little squat size window, but I really would rather see the other components step down off the main mass more. Because I feel like they're still too high. And this is this one of the, this is pretty high up on the hill looking down over everything, correct?
But
Jason?
it's back from the cliff.
Yeah, it's back. Is it the one that, it's the one that abuts the Fraker's property where he's planted all the trees?
Yes.
Yeah.
Jason, what was your first comment?
That attic, the attic window,
Okay.
not be that little 6 light. I'd rather it be not horizontal, to be more vertical.
Maybe a
Yeah.
4 light?
Yeah, that little 6 light there on the
Mhm.
east station gable end.
And did you say something else about the massing?
Yeah, stepping down more. I mean, this is way up in the sky too, because of the hill.
What do you
That's
mean by that? I'm because the ridges are dropped pretty low. Are you saying maybe lower the
Yeah, I
plate?
guess like from when you're looking at it from the south, you see how it moves from the main mass down into as you're going towards the, I don't know what direction that is, except for left at the time. You see how there's very little difference. I just feel like if you're looking at it from the east elevation, it looks like it steps down. But from other elevations, it doesn't look like it steps down from the main mass as much.
It steps down 4 feet on the
Well, we're
east.
talking ridge or plate.
Ridge.
Okay. Yeah.
And again, it's just really, this is a really, several of these lots are really, really high.
Yep.
Here. Compared to where like Angola Street is.
Well, I think
And they're
to
really
me,
small lots.
the ridges are down actually more than we're used to seeing. I would say they're stepped down pretty well off the main ridge, put it that way.
This is as low as it can get and still be a functional construction project.
Yeah, we don't really care about that, though, Brooke.
I know.
But no, I don't think that they're too tall. I could see maybe the plate on the east, on the, but it's a short wing. Where was I? The west side. That only drops a foot or so off of the main plate. So to me, that's one area that I think could come down a little bit. As you look at the south elevation, you got the gable to the right has a lower plate than the gable to the left.
Well, so if I drop that gable to the left, it would align with the gable to the right. And I can't drop the gable to the right anymore.
Yeah, and as I was originally saying, if you push that, looking at the west elevation, and you see that if you were to be able to get that corner board to run all the way through, which means pushing that wall back, that short section of wall back a little bit, that'll also diminish the width of that gable.
Right, like break it by a foot.
Yep.
And then it drops the gable a little bit.
Exactly.
Ollie, can you also show the site plan again? Please.
Angus?
In general, I think it works well for that area. The only thing that makes me a little nervous is this, I guess, Jason's concern, and that's how much elevation is there from Angola up to this, and is it going to feel higher than it really is? I like the proportions, the fenestration, like you're following all the Nantucket, downtown Nantucket details. I like all that. My only other concern would be that, I guess, that west elevation of, how visible that would be.
Well, may I address that? I want to address a couple of things, if that's all right.
Go ahead.
So first of all, this building is way away from Angola. If you go back to the site plan and you see there, yep, and you scroll up again, right there, stop. That right there is another lot before you get to the lots that are downslope, and then you have Angola. So it's not even in the same visual realm as Angola Street. As far as visibility, there's going
the north side of Birdsong going to be developed.
What's that? Yeah, the north side will have, that's a separate lot.
Is the north side?
And there will be,
There's a lot of lots in a very small space.
it's actually not. That's a 12,000 square foot lot in 5,000 square foot zoning.
Right, but compared to everything else around it, it is very densely packed. And they did a lot of filling and some other stuff. I mean, it goes from a treed area to a lot of houses looking down over Ham Pony Lot and everything else. It's just really high.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, should have talked to Mrs. Miller.
Yeah, I guess what my concern was that this would be undeveloped from Birdsong to Angola, and you would see this long slope going up to the house and then the height of the house. And most of these houses you see like right up close, and you're standing, at grade level. So if there's a buffer of construction and landscaping and all that, and you're really not seeing it from Angola Street and getting a sense of that height, it's not as much of a concern.
You're definitely not going to see it. If I can screen share real quick.
Sure.
See, I got to find the primary. All right, this doesn't show it all, but this is where, this is like, this was just a concept scheme. This is the lot right here that is upslope of the Angola lots that front on Angola. And here are 3 5,000 square foot lots that are on Angola that are at the bottom of the slope. So you'd have to go up the slope through this to get to this visually. So you're really only going to see this, you know, from this direction. And if you drive up Birdsong.
Brooke, is are those 3 lots part of this subdivision? Are they going to get developed too?
They are, but I don't know if it's going to be by my client.
Yeah.
But they are definitely, they're available.
Yeah, got it.
All right, stopping share.
A big change for that area.
It is. It's tremendous.
Lucy, do you have any comments? Oh, one last one I had. The north elevation right there, which looks like you're showing clapboard. To me, this seems a little bit too rural to put a clapboard front on it. I'd rather see shingles, I think. Not rural, but out of town.
There's 2 collaborative buildings on Angola. I don't know if that matters. 3.
And, really?
I think it would fit really nicely into that wooded area if it were natural clapboard. If you were to do clapboard, I think Mickey might have a good point with that much of a painted surface in the woods there.
Mhm.
Could we go to like a dark gray or something
I just-
instead of white?
Personally, I'd rather just see shingles because it's just a more natural, less formal treatment.
Well, I guess a Nantucket gray or something that, you know, blends in with the weathered shingle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what is
It's
the
not shiny.
what is the trim color on this?
We have right now is white. Everything was white with black shutters. So,
Yeah.
um,
Can we tone that down?
yeah, I certainly don't disagree.
Okay, I'm just gonna comment gray trim. You pick the gray. Anything else on this, on the main house? Right, down to the cottage. You know, my first thoughts on this one were, and I'm not sure I'm gonna stick to this, but it's a gambrel cottage on a second dwelling next to a gable house. And at first I was like, well, that's odd, but I don't know. And I guess if it were more of a barn-like feel to it, I might feel a little better about it, but it's definitely not a barn. It's definitely a cottage. It's a dwelling. Anybody else concerned about just the basic massing format here?
Yeah, it feels like a full-on second house, not something that's supposed to be subservient to the main house.
Does it bother you at all whether it's gambrel versus straight gable?
Yes,
Lucy or Angus?
I think the gambrel makes it seem like it was a utilitarian building, and then, you know, then they decided to move in and build out, you know, a couple of dormers for more light. The plank frame door and some of the simple eclectic fenestration with the 6 light and the 4 light in the plank door. All those things make me think about it being you know, a barn at one point. I kind of think that it, for an area that's getting fairly well developed, I think it breaks up the monotony of all the gables.
Yeah, and it has a lower feel to it as a gambrel. It's more roof than wall. I think that sort of helps in this corner location. Lucy?
I'm fine with it.
Okay. Anything else on this one?
Brooke, you've probably already pushed the envelope, but it'd be great to see where the break in the gable, I'm looking on the west elevation, but if that could drop closer to the window height, you know, a foot or something.
You're talking about lowering the soffit line?
Not the soffit, but the break in the gambrel from the steep to the shallower pitch.
Oh,
Yeah.
you mean make the,
Like the overall height, can it come down any?
Mhm.
What does that do to your dormer plate heights?
oh, I see. So, yeah, I think right now I've got, I don't know what I have. Can you, I think it's like a 5 pitch. Oh, it's a 6 pitch. I mean, I could make that a 5 pitch, and you know, pull the vertical steep parts in a little bit. But I think it's malleable to some extent, I guess, to answer your question.
I guess what I'm thinking about is keeping the same pitches, just lowering the overall height so that break gets closer to the windows, and the steep part is about the same length as the shallow part. You know, closer anyway.
Mm.
I think the roof pitches and the proportion of the gambrel is good. I'd hate to see that change a lot, but I hear what Angus is saying about
Yeah, it looks like there is maybe a lot of shingle above those windows.
Yeah.
You know, for what it's worth, I could maybe put a little four-light in the gable, see if that looked any better.
I wouldn't do that. It's going to make
All
it
right.
feel taller. What is it? Can you drop that plate height in those dormers?
But not. I mean, I think I actually have it so the dormers are at a 6'6" finished plate height. I think changing the pitch to a 5 pitch and messing around with the steeper part of the roof would be my only option.
Well, again, I like the proportions. I hear the concern about the height. So see what you can do. I don't know if we're going to see this again or not, but I think there's possibly some room for movement around there. All right, should we move on?
Would be the shed.
Let's go with the shed. You must have a reason for this, Brooke, but to me, it looks like this should just be a shed, not try to do something on the upper loft or something. It's too, for me, it's too tall and
Yeah, you mean drop it down a foot?
At least, you know, you're trying to use a loft space apparently. I just think that if it was just a small, you know, one story shed, that would probably be totally fine. Anybody else?
I think those French doors are too formal for a shed.
The French doors? Oh, yeah, they face the house. You're not going to see them.
but I just,
Will you see them from Birdsong Brook?
Scroll, let's see. You might see him looking back. So, yeah, maybe I'll note that definitely, Lucy.
Good.
unless this is planning on turning into a pool house.
Well, they're all pool houses.
I just don't know why you'd want to look in and see your bicycles.
I like my bicycles. I put mine on display.
Anything else on this one? All right, moving on. Water feature.
Oh yeah, here we go.
Koi pond, right?
Yeah, that would be nice if it were, but I don't think it is.
Fine, mosquito hatchery.
You know, my comments on this are, you know, this probably, I assume Brooke is meeting the code for not having a pool. In the
It
old
is
district.
absolutely meeting the code.
Yeah, but you know, I don't even care if it meets the code or not. I don't think it belongs here. It's just, it's a look, to me, it looks like a pool in the old HTC, old HD. And I just, if you could hide it more, put it maybe back behind the building, which. I don't know.
Well, what if it slid to the edge of the, instead of being centered on the shed, maybe if it was more centered on those stairs coming down, like shift it south.
It's in front of the main house, yes, no?
Is it? No,
What's in back?
Where is it in relation to the main house again?
To the side.
yeah, it's to the side. You know, it's behind a fence. It'll have, you know, it'll definitely be screened.
I
How
don't know.
deep is this water feature?
It's not so deep that it would be called a pool.
It's a 6-foot reflecting pool.
It's a
Um,
flat
15 feet.
pool.
Yes, we just put our feet in. It's for washing feet. It's where the manicures, the pedicures happen. It's
Yeah,
a very large pedicure pool.
to me, a pool is a pool and it looks like a pool. So I don't like it. I'm not sure how you can hide it and still not make it look like like the pool that we're all trying to avoid. You know, we voted to not have pools in the old HD. And here's essentially a pool.
Unless you're standing on the edge of it and looking down, there's nothing telling you that this isn't 8 feet deep in a pool.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's not in front of the house, but the house has no front yard, right? I mean, it's in the side yard. It's technically in the front yard.
I would argue visibility, but I could say if it shifted rearward, it would be less visible. You know, maybe it could be made smaller.
The type 2 fence, if it were like a full board fence, that would be one thing, but this is a type 2, which you're going to look through.
Mhm. Maybe change board.
Or put the shed in front of it or do, I don't know, I guess that wouldn't help.
Either way, yeah, it's
Yeah.
going to be visible in one direction or another, or not visible, but exposed.
Brooke, is it level from Birdsong to the back of this lot? Is that?
Yes, on that area, it is level. It slopes. It's kind of a compound slope, but generally speaking, where the house and the pool are more or less on the same topos. They're probably going to be, you know, those are like 1 foot increments that you see.
Brooke, would you consider putting the shed between the driveway and the pool?
I don't know that there's enough room. Let me see the site plan.
I mean, if the pool went south and the shed went north,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm talking about it running long parallel with the pool and the parking, not as in its,
Right, rotating at 90 degrees.
Yeah. And maybe changing the parking a little bit too.
All right, well, we'll see what the HTC says. I definitely think moving it to the back makes it less visible, and also putting up a board fence.
Brooke, I had a question for you.
Yes,
I don't see any type of proposed landscaping in this package. They might ask that.
okay.
Just a
I'm
thought.
sure that they'll predicate any approval on visibility, so the
Right.
landscape is implied usually with that.
I just don't get that. Let's see. Can you scroll it up so Jason, so I could see the pool? Is that a type 2 cedar fence along?
Yes, that's what I proposed, but it
Okay.
can be board.
Okay, Brooke, so I have a question from you. So what do? Haul your bike over the fence and then like squirrel it around the pool so you can put it in the shed?
Well, we don't have a pool, but I do the same right now. I don't throw it over the fence, but I do open the gate in the fence.
I'm not in favor of this water feature. To me, this is a pool and this is a pool house.
I completely agree, but this is one of those cases where zoning is zoning, but the HDC does override zoning. So, if we don't like it, if we don't like pools, we shouldn't have a pool. So,
I also
Right.
know, I also do have an issue with the driveway and the parking and all that. It looks like a parking lot. Not a driveway.
are you going to do a hardscaping application, Brooke?
Eventually, yes.
Okay, any other comments on 38R?
Doing a great job, Brooke. Keep up the good work.
Thank you. All right,
Thanks, McLeod.
moving on. We have 13 Fayette. Sonny. Okay, this, two things here. There's a third floor deck and a chimney. If you go down in the parking lot, which I was able to do on Street View, this deck is very visible. I don't think there's any precedent for a third floor deck anywhere in town. At least there shouldn't be. And this is a really visible one. So I don't think the deck belongs there, period. And the chimney should be pushed inside. We don't like exterior chimneys, new exterior chimneys in the old HD. So, anybody else?
Yeah, I agree with you, Mickey. And even if the deck were approved, it's way too big.
I agree.
Yeah, third story deck seems crazy to me.
Mhm.
Yeah, so the deck, I agree. The chimney, I think, there's a house on, I think it's at 87 Main Street, maybe. And you look down the driveway and you can actually see at least the back side of the chimney before the chimney itself goes inside the house.
Mhm.
It's kind of cool, and maybe they could do something like that here.
Well, it's, even the shape and proportion of it it reads two-story exterior chimney. I think, I remember one of the first things that the HDC used to say was no exterior chimneys. And I think this is a prime example of why we don't want that. It's going to be a wall of brick in an odd shape and proportion. You don't see that.
I don't disagree with what you're saying about this application, and it's just,
Yeah.
But, yeah.
I have a question. Holly, do you know what the age of this is, or at least the age of the L?
So I was trying to find that out. I couldn't find it. This was part of the Lewis funeral home property,
Mhm.
and where they built, there's 4 different structures on this lot. And I want to say that one of them, I've been in both of them actually.
I think one is old.
One of them is old and one of them is an infill, and I don't know which one's which based on this. And sad to say, nothing is indicated on the
Mhm.
application.
Yeah, I
Um,
feel like it's incomplete because I just looking at that, I guess that north elevation, the existing, I would just hate to see, infrastructure and fenestration getting eliminated if it were original.
If this is the structure in question, which looks like this faces on Fayette, looking at the GIS, which this GIS map is not the greatest to show for you guys, but I want to say this is an infill. I don't think this is historic, but then looking at the photos, it looks like it's the one that's facing on Union Street. So I'm confused. Sorry, guys.
I think it's a brand new building. When I'm looking at the street view and I see it was under construction in this photograph on street view, and it just looked brand new unless they totally redid the exterior. So I don't care how old it is, neither the chimney nor the deck
Right.
should be visible.
I'd like to add that if the HDC does decide to approve this, no outdoor lighting up there.
Okay. Anything else on this one? So next. 78 Center. Right.
So this one I know is Center Street Inn from the 1820s, is a timber frame 4 3/4 house, is what the NHL data indicates. Which is the Regatta Inn now.
What did you call it?
It was indicated as the Center Street Inn a long time ago before it was the Regatta.
Okay.
And I believe this is not the first rendition of this proposed addition.
Well, Holly, if you could go to the east elevation. There you go. Those 2 windows, they're changing. They're, these should match the ones to the side. If you zoom in, you'll see that it's a one size shorter window, which makes the panes look horizontal. So there shouldn't be any reason why they can't just make those match the ones to the left.
Yeah, it looks like they've got plenty of area underneath the sills too. So even if they have a vanity top or something, I don't think I think they can still do the right thing.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
think so. And I also think that they're, in addition to being shorter, they might be a little bit wider.
They might be. Hard to tell.
Look at, yeah.
Yeah, actually, when I scale on the drawing, on the computer, they are wider, just a little bit.
So I'm just going to say they should be taller and they should match the windows to the left of them.
It looks like that's just a hallway.
I wonder what the reason is to change them.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, taller and narrower to match adjacent window.
Now, how visible is this?
Very,
Yeah,
Very.
this is right on.
Street,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
really.
right
on
before
Lily.
the stop sign.
Yeah, here's the other change, which is a grading issue. I don't think I'm very concerned about that.
That's already been done.
How's it look?
There's a big fence there, which I don't know if it was approved. Kevin peeked over it for me.
Well, if it wasn't approved and they already did it, then that should be addressed.
Oh, I think they may have had to do it because of the nature of the construction process, but
Yeah.
not knowing what it was, the final grade was going to be.
That's
But again, I'm not sure that's visible.
It's not visible.
So this is the elevation that those two windows are on here.
Yeah.
So where was that grade change?
It's
To the left,
to the
right?
left,
Right here.
on Lily.
going down.
Um,
Now, I didn't see those window wells myself. That's what my spy reported.
Hmm.
But there is a fence between the property lines too.
Any concern about the grade change?
No,
Me either. Anything else? Okay. Last one, 17 Lincoln. I kind of wish Lisa were here to explain this when there's obviously they're getting rid of this garage cottage, but I don't know what's replacing it. And is the pool now going to be so much more visible? That's now an issue.
I think this needs to track with the replacement.
Yeah, and need some representation. I just don't, we've been through this a lot. We don't like to see buildings just torn down. Hopefully this will get reused. It's a new building. It's not that old.
Well, it significantly screens the pool.
mhm.
So I think we need more information on this one.
I can tell you the house is gone. I was up there. If you
Wow.
haven't been up there recently.
What a view that must be.
Yes, definitely.
land bank.
That was the first thing that came to mind.
Just-
Land Bank, Lincoln Circle.
Just buy it.
Yeah.
You know that little park that the Conservation Foundation has down below from Lincoln Circle? That
Yeah.
little park there? That was the first piece of land donated to the Conservation Foundation.
The bird sanctuary.
Yep.
I know. Great. Okay. We're done with this one. We're just saying what's going to replace it, track with it. Yeah, the new application. And it screens the pool nicely.
I did want to let you all know, just briefly, if you've looked at the HDC's agenda for this evening, it's quite long.
Yes.
And there are a few things from old business that are not going to get to tonight that you all have not seen, so they'll be on for next week, just so you're aware of that. It's all about the open meeting law and posting your agenda before we actually receive the applications.
Can you tell me what those are, and we can at least look at them on our own and make some comments if we want to.
They are, so 11 India Street is on there, but you all already looked at that last week. 17 Lincoln Ave, was the revisions,
Yeah.
which you already looked at. It's 7 East Lincoln and 14 Lowell Place from Emeritus. Those are the only two. They are numbered 8 and 9 under old business. I'm doubtful they'll get there, but you never know.
Holly, are those, we looked at 14 Lowell Place. Has that already been in front of the HDC when he's done revisions now?
No,
Okay, so we've done that
No.
one. And 7 East Lincoln, I don't remember which one it was.
And does 3 School Street make changes from our,
They are working on their changes.
okay,
They actually did not present. They asked to be held. So, based on your comments.
Yeah, it needed work.
So-
Sorry, Holly. I gotta go. I have another meeting.
No
Can I
problem.
make a motion to approve the
Right.
comments?
Thank you, Angus.
Second,
All those in favor?
Aye.
Bye.
Aye.
aye,
Motion to adjourn?
so
Second,
moved,
all those in favor?
Aye.
Bye.
aye.
Aye.
Thanks, guys.
All right,
Bye.
thank you.
See you.
Guys.
Bye, everyone.